What's your biggest flex that you'll never tell anyone? Deaf person here, who wears hearing aids and relies heavily on lip reading. I get excited on the extremely rare occasions I can figure out a spoken phrase without any lip reading. It almost never happens. Or when I recognize a song I know, but there's no point in bragging, because other people will just think I'm not that deaf and make less of an effort to face me/speak clearly. Lol. I was in the grocery store and saw an older woman standing in the aisle comparing what was in her cart to what was in her wallet, obviously counting to see if she could afford everything. Based on her body language as she walked away, I could tell that the answer was no. So I took a 20 out and walked up to her and said, "Ma'am, when you were over there just a second ago this fell out of your wallet." I handed her the bill and just walked away so she wouldn't be embarrassed if she figured out I was lying. I did hear her say thank you, so I half turned and told her, "You're welcome, have a nice night." It was only $20, but I think it made a difference to her, and that felt amazing. Me and my girlfriend created in the past a YouTube channel for kids, playing with toys using only our hands and voices. We had videos hitting 300k plus views, but we uploaded few videos, like 10 videos, because our priorities changed and we stopped. But we were still able to make several $100s from them, and the videos still generate some money today after many years. I think if we had continued with that, maybe we would be able to make a lot of money. I regret we didn't keep uploading more videos. Do you know that random, intuitive ideas you have sometimes? Pay attention to them. Your DP is smarter than yourself sometimes. As a kid, saved a kid from ongoing child abuse by his parents. Was staying over there and had met them only briefly due to them being one of several families hosting us in a city kids out in the rich suburbs while we worked with their kids on a local theater production. This was decades ago FYI. Well, it didn't take the whole week we were in town for me to realize how scared he was, and despite feeling guilty about waiting to report his stories until after our trip, I was told that his parents were investigated soon after and he was moved to other family. I don't know. Feels like a flex and also a tragedy at the same time, since who knows if he ended up any better off. I hope so. Had a class where the professor was pissed that everyone did really bad on an essay and was yelling at the class. He said that aside from one person who got a 97%, he was disappointed with everyone there. I had a 97%. I lived with my grandparents my whole life, who lived in a small little house across the street from a big fancy neighborhood development. They lived in the same house for 40 years before the development. It was a very bad hill on a busy road with the neighborhood entrance at the bottom of the hill, which was across the street from our house. Me and my grandpa would pull people out of wrecks all the time. Saved a bunch of lives, but sadly saw over 10 people die on that hill growing up. The big fancy people in that neighborhood would always bring us food and gifts. They called my grandpa the gatekeeper. I have enough old, valuable Magic the Gathering cards to buy a car. A new, really nice car. I don't tell anyone I roll, because they're from when I was young and collected them, and my current social circle would think it's kid/nerd stuff and wouldn't understand. Doesn't get me down, though. Current plan is to hold on to them until they go up enough over time to match my mortgage balance, then use them to pay off my house. Edit. I appreciate all the comments. I currently actively keep up with the MTG market, and I'm a pretty close follower of the /mtgfinance sub. As far as the MacLeod of the cards, RL cards, mostly from 93/94, and complete sets from Urza's block and earlier. Paid off 40k in net during quarantine due to no more daycare costs for 3 kids and better paying job for the wife. Also dropped body fat from 14% to 7% using my ghetto ass home gym while everyone was complaining about the quarantine. 15. Went from having one family meal a week to almost daily. I don't tell anyone this obviously, because there are people going through tough times, especially family and close friends, and I can empathize with that as it hasn't been completely smooth and there were some stressful moments. But I'm proud of what my wife and I were able to do in a relatively short amount of time, but haven't shared any of this at the risk of alienating anyone. I secretly enjoy everyone's shock when they first meet my wife. I'm not insanely attractive. I'm a nerdy scientist. My wife is a doctor. She's funny, driven, she's smarter than me, she's 5 feet 9 inches, and could very well be a model. In fact, she's been approached numerous times to move to New York City. We've known each other since 2nd grade, started dating in college. My high school/college friends are still baffled that I casually married the most attractive girl we knew in high school/college. Because we both have insanely busy schedules, we can go months or years without meeting each other's coworkers. My favorite reaction from mine is "That's your wife," and I'm sure it's vice versa for her. When my girlfriend and I worked at the same bar, I threw a coaster at her like a frisbee. It arced over her and like 20 customers, only to land perfectly on the neat stack of other coasters like 50 feet away. It was so fucking cool, but nobody noticed, except one customer who I later had to kick out for taking a nap on the bar. No point in telling anybody, but I look back fondly on that moment. My debit card went through for a really large amount, and the lady behind the counter had been being so smug and irritating for so long, and then she tried to deny my card because it wouldn't go through for that amount, and I asked her to just please try it. The look on her face when it went through was so satisfying. May I never make that larger purchase again. My coworkers don't know I was severely abused as a child, became a raging drug user and alcoholic, and moved out at age 17. Somehow went to college and have an extremely respectable job where I look normal, or at least I think I look passable. Whenever I think about telling this story, it always comes out with a "that happened" type of feel, so I have kept it to myself. Every day in junior year of high school I would eat my lunch, stand up, and toss my trash toward the wide-mouthed trash can about 25 feet away. Every day. I would miss. I would then routinely do the walk of shame to get it all thrown away. This went on until the spring. It was April or May, I forget when exactly, and I stood up and threw my trash at the can. What do you know? After a few months I made it. It was a small victory, but I did an air fist and then made eye contact with a kid who was in the marching band with me. Apparently he had watched me do this ritual every day and was ready to celebrate with me, so he began to slow clap. Then, the rest of his table clapped, not knowing why, but it was high school so who cared. Then the effect spread until the entire cafeteria, about 1,500 students, were giving thunderous applause, only 2 of us knowing why. I took a bow and then sat down and everyone just went back to eating their lunch like nothing happened, because nothing really happened. It was a weird rush. I have a ton of money. I've always worked whatever jobs, restaurant server, retail, etc. boring kinda wage slave stuff. My living expenses are low, studio apartment and just pretty minimal spending. I live a comfortable life, just as anyone would with my paychecks. But I got into investing and cryptocurrency online about 8 years ago and just got lucky. Spread out among multiple investments I'm at almost $8 mil. Literally just kinda threw some extra money at stuff in the first couple years and was able to make really good returns. I live the same life I always did. Almost doesn't feel like I earned this money at all. No one knows. Parents, family, friends. I don't want anyone I care about to change their perspective of me because I have this money. Still working a simple job and living in the same studio. I'm comfortable and happy outside of the money. No one will see this because I'm way late, but when I was in elementary school me and a friend were playing video games together and he started choking on a piece of food stuck in his throat. It wasn't getting dislodged, so I did the Heimlich maneuver and it came out. I don't remember anyone else finding out what happened. When I was a kid around 9 or 10, my dad left me for a minimum, says he has to pee, in an arcade racing game, Initial D4. I was playing story mode and my S2000 car was almost fully tuned. Then some high school to freshman college dudes played and made fun of me because I'm just a little girl playing that arcade game. The first guy challenged me when I was almost done racing to cue me. It seemed like they really timed it just to tease me. I defeated all 3 of them and got 3 free games. 3. We had a crappy scatter park here in town. The town was posting pictures saying they would update it to this awesome skate plaza. Years go by, still the same crappy wooden ramp. One day I wrote a letter to Rob Didek asking him to come to my town and build a scatter park I drew up and sent with the letter. Very calculated for a 12-year-old lol. Couple months maybe a year goes by. I'm in the car on the way to Pennsylvania when I notice Rob is in my town at the park talking to the mayor. In a year and a half we got the first Street League replica skate plaza. IDK how many PPL wrote letters to Rob asking for a scatter park in my little town, but I like to think that was totally me who made that happen. Still trying to know for sure. And I still have the letter lol, the Swift local who wears glasses and a beanie every day. I worked at a grocery store in high school, and an older guy from the day crew once came in to grab his check and decided to check on the evening. All high school crew, we hated this guy. He found us to tell us there were some bruised apples that needed removed and started talking to us while tossing an apple in one hand. Eventually he gets tired of the conversation, starts saying goodbye, and for a reason I'll never know, tried to whip the apple between me and my buddy. Without much thought my right hand wiped out, and I caught it. I hardly even registered that I did it, but the look on his face was pure flabbergasted. I acted like it was nothing and had a little half smile while I tried to suppress my own shock. After he left I was also glad I caught it because it would have made a mess, which is probably why he threw it. Once I was in the passenger seat of my car while my wife was driving down the freeway. A truck driver and me locked eyes and started communicating using hand signals, waving and such. He was drinking her up and gestured in a way that was asking me if I wanted one. I obviously said yes, and we both rolled our windows down. He threw it to me, and I actually caught it. We both laughed, and I have never enjoyed a drink more in my life. It was a had to be there moment that I remember fondly, but no point telling anyone really lol. Trigger warning kind of, no details. Edit, I truly am doing really well. I got rid of a lot of toxic people in my life and found my passion. I will be set for a while thanks for the PMs and such. I went from being sexually harassed for 8 months to being assaulted to in the course of 3 years. I suffered severe PTSD. Couldn't sleep unless it was after 5 AM. Went out almost every night and went to school still and to work after. I would survive 3 days with full days before taking a break because I was so desperate, smoke or drink or whatever the plans were for the evening. I went from that and so much worse to graduating high school early and getting into college at 17 in order to become a firefighter at 18. It's a process, but people who just met me will never know that I used to be that person. I anonymously send care packages from Amazon and drop off boxes of food and necessities to my hourly restaurant employees who are struggling. I could get in huge trouble for using their personal information in this way, so I've never told anyone else, even my own family. I'm limited by corporate or owners regarding their pay rates and hours, but I expect I've invested well over $3K in this work in the last 5 years. I'm 93 days free from self-harm. For the first time in 4 years. It's so small there's no point in bringing it up to many people, but it's something I'm really proud of. Only 3 months ago I was debating every opportunity to not alive, and now I just bought my first car and I'm going into my second round of college classes. Life is rad. I wake up in the morning. I don't tell anyone because obviously I woke up in the morning. So what? Well, first of all it takes a lot of energy to wake up in the morning. Like, a lot of energy. And then, not only do I have to wake up, but at the same time I have to fight the urge to just not give up on everything. I was seen as a stupid, quiet, outsider kid who won't achieve shit after high school, if I even graduate. Not even 5 years later I bought a house on my own, work full time, drive a nice car, and just got accepted to college. I have a loving girlfriend and have control over my depression and most of my anxiety. Part of me wants to go to a class reunion to flex on people, and another part of me wants to return the invite with each shit written in the card. I can name every U.S. state capital. This is a flex because I'm Canadian and have no ties to the U.S. Every country in Europe and a lot of other countries. Also, if someone tells me their birthday I won't ever forget it. Oh, and I'm completely ambidextrous. I write with whatever hand picks up the pen and the writing looks identical. Although, I prefer to do my signature with my left because it looks cooler. It's a surprisingly useless skill. Only one person has ever noticed, and they could not believe it. Dorky white girl here. I left my friend's apartment complex with my windows down and B-side rap music blaring from my car. Pulled up to a stoplight and an SUV full of young black guys pulled up next to me with their windows down, and they were all hanging out the windows vibing with the music. I looked over at the driver, made eye contact, and then started rapping along with the song and they all lost their shit. I pulled away when the light turned green and we kept rolling side by side. I never felt so cool in my life. I escaped small town poverty. Made it a point to go to school far away from my hometown. Incurred the requisite amount of student loans. Yay American education system. And through a series of lucky and well-timed promotions, my salary on paper is now $120,000 in less than 10 years in the working world. Class of 2011. I'm debt free, except for my mortgage, own a home, drive a $60K car, have a 6-month emergency fund, and day trade with about $200K worth of assets that I couldn't care less about. I keep in touch with my parents, siblings, and 1 or 2 friends from back home, but mostly stay the hell away from that place since it's filled with degens and meth heads. I was super overweight when I was in high school, and over our summer vacation I made it my goal to lose as much weight as I could. So I went from weighing like 210 pounds to weighing like 145 pounds in a course of just over 3 months. I was working all summer too, so I didn't get to see my friends until the first day of school. The look on everyone's face when I sat down next to them in the cafeteria was so satisfying, and I will never forget the feeling